What's up, guys? It's Sports Blitz here, and we're back with another NFL record prediction. Today, we've got the Baltimore Ravens. But before I get into it, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. So, looking over the Baltimore Ravens depth chart, looking over their offense first, we've got Lamar Jackson. He won MVP last year. I know a lot of people weren't real happy with the fact they thought that, there were plenty other guys that performed better than him. I think a lot of it was about, the Ravens being just a dominant team altogether. Like, yeah, he may not have had a ton of touchdowns, but he consistently was putting the team in a position to win. And honestly, Lamar Jackson's a top 5 quarterback. All right, he is. Let's not be crazy and debate that. He's a top 5 quarterback. But then they've got running back Derrick Henry, who they signed in the offseason. I think for a rush-heavy offense like this is going to be massive for the Ravens. I mean, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the same backfield, that's pretty scary, all right? Behind him, they've also got Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. I don't know the status of Keaton Mitchell's injury, how long he'll be out, but I do think he's the true number 2 behind Derrick Henry. I think he's better than Justice Hill. He looked really good last year. So there's that. Receivers, honestly, you take out Zay Flowers, and the receiving core really isn't very good. I mean, Rashad Bateman just hasn't been what we expected him to be. He's been pretty lackluster, if we're being honest here. They've also got Nelson Aguilar, who also hasn't been real great. A few years back, he put up a pretty good season with the Raiders, putting up almost 900 yards and 8 touchdowns. So really not great receivers for the Ravens. They did draft Tez Walker, who I wasn't a huge fan of in the draft process to begin with. I didn't like him as a first rounder like a lot of people were talking about. I didn't like him as any higher than a late second rounder. If I remember correctly, he was drafted either end of second or end of third round. I think it was end of third round, which I don't hate. If he performs well, I could see him overthrowing Nelson Aguilar for the wide receiver 3 spot. So they've got some potential back there. Gonna be honest, I could also see Keith Kirkwood making a run at, moving up a few spots. I think he could be better than Deontay Hardy and even Tylan Wallace. So there's that. Tight ends, I mean, Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely are, them and Zay Flowers are really going to be the star of the receiving game. I think they're going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets. They're going to run the ball a lot. They're going to get the ball to Zay Flowers, and that's going to be their offense. Along with Lamar running, Going to the offensive line, Ronnie Stanley is a top 12 tackle in the league. You could argue top 10. Andrew Voorhees is solid. I don't think he's, special, but he's solid. Tyler Linderbaum is a top 2 center in the league. Well, I'd say top 3. I'd say you could switch him, Frank Ragnow, and the guy on the Chiefs. I forget his name. Can't remember the guy on the Chiefs' name, but the center there. You could switch them around for best centers in the league. Either way, he's top 3. Really good center. Ben Cleveland is a pretty solid guard. Again, nothing special, but he's solid. Roger Rosengarten, honestly, I don't really know much about him. I really don't. Couldn't tell you if he's good, bad, mediocre. I don't know. Don't know a lot about him. So, can't really say anything there. But the rest of the O-line's pretty dang solid. I think they'll be able to protect Lamar pretty well and, get lanes going for Derrick Henry. Going to the defense, this is the real exciting part here. I mean, Justin Madubuike really, really broke out for double-digit sacks last year. Absolute freak. Ended up getting paid. All right. That was really good to see. Michael Pierce, one of the best nose tackles in the league. Just giant, big body force there in the middle of the D-line. And they've got Broderick Washington. Don't know a lot about him, to be honest. That's kind of a newer name for me. I'll have to pay attention and see what I think there, but, I mean, considering he's starting on their D-line, he's got to be at least decent, so... then they've got Odafe Owe, who I think is pretty dang solid. I think he could break out and have a pretty dang solid year this year. Behind him, they've also got David Ojabo, who I'm just waiting for him to finally get it together and break out. Because I was a big fan of him, coming out of the draft the year he got drafted. So I'm excited to see what David Ojabo can do. Roquan Smith, I mean, it's always between him and Fred Warner for the best middle linebacker in the league. I mean, I would consider Fred Warner a better pass coverage guy. I'd consider Roquan Smith a better run stopper. They're both really good at what they do. So I'd consider them 1A and 1B sort of deal. Real good linebacker. Then they've got Trenton Simpson, basically taking over Patrick Queen's spot from last year. I was a big fan of him coming out of the draft last year. I thought he got drafted a lot later than he should have been, and the Ravens kind of got a steal. I think we're going to see a lot of really good play from him this year. I don't think... I like Patrick Queen a lot. I think he was really good last year. But because of how good Trenton Simpson can also be, I don't think they're going to miss much of a beat right there. So then they've got Kyle Van Noy also as the strong side linebacker. I want to say he's 32, 33 now. He's been a good linebacker. The age kind of worries me a little bit. Kind of makes you wonder how much good play you're still going to continue to get out of him. But overall, he's been a good linebacker. Then they've got Marlon Humphrey, who's a top 10 corner in the league. Kyle Hamilton, who's a top 5 safety in the league. Marcus Williams, who is top 15 safety in the league. Brandon Stevens is a real solid corner as well. And they just drafted Nate Wiggins, who I was a huge fan of in the draft, out of Clemson. I think he's going to be a freak. They also signed Eddie Jackson in free agency. I think he's still a pretty dang solid safety. So their secondary is insane. Alright, they've got one of, if not the best secondaries in the league. The only ones you can really, debate on there are the Jets, and that really might be about it. It's probably between them and the Jets for the best secondary in the league. Unless I'm forgetting someone. For their nickel, they've got Arthur Maulet, who... nothing special. I mean, he's alright. He'll get you by. But, nothing special there. But overall, Ravens have top 3 defense in the league. Absolutely insane defense. I will say, though, it's probably going to be pretty noticeable them losing Mike McDonald. to the Seahawks. He is um, their head coach now. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word for some reason. Um, so let's go ahead and get into their record prediction. They they have the actual regular season opener against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. This is going to be one of the best season openers we've ever seen. All right, I'm very excited for this game. Um, both teams have really high-powered defenses, really good offenses. You know, both have top 5 quarterbacks. If you consider Lamar top 3, then both top 3 quarterbacks. Um, I could see it going either way. I'm going to go ahead and give the edge to the Chiefs, though, because it's in Arrowhead, opening of the season. You know, I'm going to give it to the Chiefs. But then I think the Ravens go on a crazy tear here, take down the Raiders. Honestly, I mentioned this in my last video. I think the Cowboys just aren't as focused this year. I mean, all the contract situations with, Jerry Jones having a hard time paying them. You know, they've got the CeeDee Lamb situation, the Micah Parsons situation, the Dak Prescott situation. They just don't seem focused right now, and I think the Ravens or the Cowboys are going to have a down year. So I'm going to give that to the Ravens. I think they beat the Bills. I think the Bills take a pretty solid decline this year. I do think they actually split with the Bengals. I think if Joe Burrow is healthy this year, I think they have a really good year like they did a couple years ago. So I'm going to have them split. Where's the other? Here it is. Then they beat Washington pretty easily. They beat Tampa. I will give them a split against the Browns as well. I mean, the Browns are also a pretty underrated team. I don't know if I'd say underrated. A lot of people have them as a good team, but I'm gonna have them split. Tell you what, I'm actually gonna have the Ravens beat them in Cleveland, and then I'm gonna say Week 18 the Browns win because I'm gonna say the Ravens will already have the playoffs clinched. So they'll be resting a lot of their starters. I think the Ravens beat the Broncos. I'm gonna say, yeah, I'll say they split with the Steelers. I was tempted to say they get swept by the Steelers, but I'll give them a split. Say they beat the Chargers, beat the Eagles, beat the Giants, and then there's a Wednesday game? That's definitely interesting. Oh, that's a Christmas Day game. Okay. I'm going to give it to the Ravens. I mean, I think the Texans are going to be really good this year with C.J. Stroud, but, I mean, the Ravens' defense is just too much. So, overall, that gives the Ravens a 13-4 record. So let's go ahead and quickly cover their floor real quick. So, I don't think there's a shot they lose to the Raiders. I think they could lose to the Cowboys. We'll say the Bills are better than I expect, and they pull one there. We'll say the Browns beat them in the regular season. We'll say the Steelers do get that sweep, and we'll say the Texans pull it off. 8-9, their floor is higher than 8-9. I mean, I don't know, guys. Let's be honest. This floor isn't gonna happen. Like, there's no shot. They're better than that. It's not gonna happen. But just if we're being like super picky about a lot of stuff here. Let's see. What was the other game? Oh, against the Texans. There we go. Yeah. So there's 13-4. If we're considering their ceiling, honestly, I'm just gonna be honest here. Their ceiling, they could beat the Chiefs. They could sweep the Bengals. I feel like they always play rough against the Steelers. So, say they sweep the Browns. 16-1, I'd say, is their ceiling. I don't think they're sweeping the Steelers. They always tend to play bad against the Steelers. So, not going to give them that. I'm going to go ahead and stick with my prediction, though, on them going 13-4, though. I think that's, number 1 or even 2 in the AFC. I could see the Chiefs maybe beating that. But, yeah, real good team right there, though. The Ravens are a nasty team. So, Ravens fans, let me know what you think of this record prediction in the comments section below. Again, smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Later.